I love the little Spidey fella in the movie. He's good. A lot of talk, but he's good. I liked it. I really liked it. A lot of people should find time to go and look at it. It's nice. It's good. It's nice. It's a nice
What do you
person.
think? What are you? Team Captain or Team Iron Man?
Both, funny enough, both. I like the conviction of both. They both felt they had, well, Iron Man felt he had something right. Stop taping me.
Well, hold on now.
Goodbye.
Captain America Civil War opened in Trinidad and Tobago on May the 4th. Of course, thanks to the wonderment of public transportation, I arrived like 10 minutes late to IMAX. So Mom and I went back this Sunday, which was Mother's Day, to see it fully. And I have to tell you, it was great.
When I first heard who, or rather how many people were being cast in this film, I too joked about the fact that this is an Avengers film. But it wasn't Avengers 2.5. This was a Captain America movie. I mean, you knew that. This was a Captain America movie. At no time were you left wondering, whose film is this anyway? What? No. Even though there were breakout stars, you knew this was a Captain America film. Captain America Civil War did what a superhero film should do, which is make you understand the heroes you're looking at, even if there's a conflict. So for the 90 or so minutes that you're in there, you can believe in the story. I'll say that again. You can believe in the story and not just the spectacle of the film. Story and spectacle matters, but it has to be balanced. All right. I'm all for the spectacle. This is not a 30-minute cartoon where the world gets destroyed and buildings crumble, and then by the next episode everything is back to normal. So we need this spectacle. I can deal with that, but as long as there is a valid story, and there was a valid story. Even as filmmakers strive for more realism, whatever the hell that means, in superhero films, you've got to be true to the story and to the characters in the story. And I think Civil War achieved this. Marvel Studios, as we know, Marvel Studios tends to take certain liberties with book to movie adaptations in their films. I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't always be exact same thing that's happening in the comics. But it's still ultimately about the characters. The characters that you've either grown to love or, in the very least, respect. And as much as I don't want to do a comparison review, the reality is this. The seeds of Civil War were put in place, I think, from Avengers 1, right? The very first Avengers. So you're not sitting in the cinema or watching trailers and being like, some taxi drivers had this conversation, like this actual conversation. Why they fighting? What going on? What, Superman turned evil? What was this? You didn't have any of that. Because there were things put in place. You can actually understand why Tony and Steve were at odds. It was crystal clear. This is something that I am painfully aware of. Y'all know how I am in terms of DC, how I love DC, but I will tell you, that was painfully aware of the vast chasm between the films. I went to IMAX as Team Rogers because Tony can suck it. But you can, in fact, understand the motivations of both of them. In fact, you can understand the personal conviction of everyone in their respective teams. I mean, for example, Rhodey is, he isn't Team Iron Man just because Tony's his best friend. He legitimately believes in what they're fighting for. Even, well, if you saw the film, you know what happens to Rudy. And if you didn't see the film, go watch the movie. One of the things I liked was that not everything was revealed in the trailers. Really. There's a big scene that happens in the film. I mean, by now, with all the TV spots and everything out, y'all probably may have seen it. But in terms of pre-film revelations, that big shift was held close to the director's chest. The director's chest. Whatever the proper grammar is.
Speaking of the directors, the Russo brothers created a kind of a show reel, a proof reel, which is not really the word, I don't think, but call it that. A proof reel, so as to solidify their grasp on the MCU, and maybe more importantly, assuage any potential fears from the fan base. Most people agree that they did splendidly on Winter Soldier, but remember, their next big foray is Avengers Infinity War. That's like 68 or 60 something in any event heroes. 60 something heroes. So if they couldn't handle a film with 14 or so heroes, how could they be trusted with 60 plus? Infinity War is going to be world changing. But thankfully, you know what? They totally nailed it in Civil War. So massive kudos to them and to the writing team behind them.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man is your Spider. If you grew up on the Spider, you'll appreciate him, I think. If you haven't, trust me when I say this is the Spider. Now, personally, I would have loved to seen Andrew and Tony on the same, well, Andrew and Robert Downey on the same screen together. For me, I felt like that could have been something worthwhile. But I can't fault Marvel Studios for going back to the beginning. And Tom knocks it out of the park, for want of a better euphemism. The evolution of his costume, the interaction with Tony is pure comic book goodness. And Aunt May, yes, Marissa, yes. Yes, please.
On the roof!
Hey, everyone.
Prince T'Challa's introduction to the world could have been a disaster. It really could have. But you know what? It wasn't. It was perfect. From Chadwick's accent to his poise, everything said, this is the introduction that a prince soon to be king deserves. His motivations, and to quote my friend Stacy, who writes and owns Adventures of a Trini Fangirl, that website, his growth throughout the film is quite good. It's classic. I eagerly await his solo Black Panther films. Okay, when you meet Peter Parker, I want you to follow the camera closely. Look at it carefully. Peter Parker is a kid who doesn't have a lot of money. We know this. Peter doesn't have a lot of money. Nor does his aunt. Duh. When you go into his room, the way how they set up his room, I mean, even his first costume, they got it right. Not that, and I want to put this out there, we all tend to bash Toby and Andrew, but I think their individual spiders had real merit. The thing though with Toby and Andrew's Peter, like the house and the environment and stuff that they lived in, it didn't lend itself to the idea of this is I don't want to say a poor kid, but it didn't lend to the idea that this was a broke kid with superpowers. But I'm telling you, watch those little bits closely in terms of Peter, and you will see what I am saying when I say they got it right. If you know just a pinch of information about Prince T'Challa's private guards, um, then you will squeal. I think you will squeal when one of them meets Black Widow. It's on point. It really is. So again, it's the little things. The big things were also on point. The fight sequences were choreographed splendidly, methinks. The spectacle was there, yes, but there was also like an intimacy in the process that was really cool. The humor is never lacking in a Marvel Studios film. We know that, but it wasn't a quip fest. Although I will say, I was watching Tony and remembering Sawyer from Lost. In that, you know, if you know Lost, you know Sawyer has a name for basically everybody. It's a name for everyone. The overarching villain, the villain of the piece, Mission Report. I'm not 100% sold on him. Now, I get his motivations. I understand it. I understand his motivations. I can get why he's doing it. In terms of that character, I can understand what he's all about. But what gnawed at me, what continues to gnaw at me, is that I feel like I could take any villain, any Marvel Studios villain, and give them the time and the patience that he has, and had, rather, and they could do it. It would work. This isn't the actor's fault. Like I said, I get Baron Zemo, well, I get Zemo's rationale, but I'm constantly wondering if his plot could be interchangeable. Like, could somebody else do that? Funny enough, you know, the one argument that people have against Marvel villains, this is the first time that I've felt it. But I will say his performance was on point, both as an actor and as a character. It was on point. So it's not something that you're going to be like, yeah. To end it all, go see Captain America Civil War, Team Rogers. It's with it. It's with it. It's quite good. Like, really. I want to go back to IMAX, you know, for research purposes, obviously. And for the love of all that is pure on the earth, are you listening to me? Don't leave the cinema before the credits. Like, really and truly, like, what is wrong with you people? It is 8 years of Marvel Studios films we have, and y'all still walking out of the cinema when the music starts to play, and people start walking. I am literally sitting down in the back of the cinema because I was up in row A, and I'm standing on there and saying, there are 2 scenes, people! Now, you know how Marvel Studios operates. Don't walk out of the cinema before the credits. You have to stay until after the credits. There are 2 scenes that you want to see.
Special thanks to Mr. T's, who completely outfitted me for my cinema outing and for part of this review as well. In fact, now I have 2 Civil War tees, ha ha ha.
But it's not just like for the cinemas, like if you're going to a con this year, because there's like little things happening all over Trinidad and Tobago, and you don't have time to go through to do a full kit. What's wrong with you? Do a full kit. But if you don't have time to do a full kit, pick up a hero tee from Mr. T's and, you know, rock on, man. So huzzah. And, you know, a huzzah to IMAX, where I got my Black Widow collectible. So, yeah, that's happening. So next, Tracy is going to review X-Men Apocalypse, or as I call it, what happens when Tracy is hungry. Till then, peace.